So Jeffie, you were telling me about how you got to know Coco Chanel.
Exactly.
And how she made you feel great about yourself.
Well, perhaps I should start with saying that when I was growing up, I was not pretty in any conventional way. And little girls all get messages subliminally. They don't need to be told anything, but you know if you're the pretty one that everyone says, oh, she's beautiful and she's whatever. And you know if you're kind of the ugly duckling. And you know what people look for, when they see you. And I grew up in Old Guard Hollywood with a great many people who were all judged by the way they looked. Absolutely the way they looked. And I got a message that everyone hoped that I would study hard and work somewhere in a basement where no one would have to look at me because I was not pretty. I just wasn't. And my mother was a painter who quite accidentally actually met Coco Chanel, and they immediately liked one another, and Coco invited her to come and paint at her atelier. And Mother had done these enormous paintings, which now are being shown, and I'm thrilled about the paintings. But what I like is the story, because people have heard so many things about Coco Chanel that make her sound like an absolute nightmare. Everything I've read about her, I think, oh my goodness. But of course, I was very intrigued by Coco Chanel. Even if you're a girl who's not pretty and doesn't get all dressed up, you certainly know about Chanel. And my mother wanted me to come and see the pictures. And I got to Paris, and I got dressed to go meet Coco, and Mother said, have you got anything else? You cannot wear that. I said, Mother, this is my dress. This is all I brought. And it came above the knee, because in the 1960s, 1968, what we were wearing all over the world were a little sleeveless dress, A-shape above the knee. And I brought one dress, and Mother said, well, I just can't take you to see her in that. She has a horror of a miniskirt, and that was considered a miniskirt to go above the knee. I said, well, then I won't go. And I felt sort of relieved, because I was kind of scared anyway to go meet her. And then Mother said, well, no, she's expecting us. We just have to go. And we went. And for me, the time was excruciating, because Coco Chanel paid no attention to me whatsoever. She was thrilled to see my mother, patted the couch, come and sit down next to me here, sit over there in that chair. And I sat in the chair, as I was telling you, and all I could think about was if I could slide back in the chair a little bit and get my dress pulled down a little lower, it would be more acceptable. And I kept thinking, why did I come here? No one's talking to me. My French is not very good. My dress is awful. I don't fit in. I just want to go home. And and then when they finally stopped talking and got up, I thought, it's over, we're leaving, that's fine. No, we were going to dinner. So we went downstairs and we went across the Rue Cambon to the Ritz for dinner. And again, Mother and Coco talked, and I sat there. And finally it came to an end, and we went home. And I was so relieved, and I didn't care if it made me feel very sad. I didn't want to go. You really feel like the poor country cousin who just should have stayed home in your horrible clothes. And Mother called to say good night, and Coco said, well, I observed your daughter closely the whole time we were together. And she said, I liked her very much. She said, many mothers and daughters don't get along. They have a little tension, they have a little competition. But she said, not between the two of you. She said, Marion, she looked at you with such kind eyes. Would you bring her to lunch tomorrow? And she had never looked at the way I looked. She looked at, I was proud of my mother, and I did look at her with kind eyes, and I really thought she was an amazing woman. But Coco Chanel, who supposedly was only looking at skirt length and seams and how beautiful you were, saw right through you to who you were. And I think, I will say this, I was not pretty, I was not very well dressed, but I am a nice person. And what was validated there for me was that I adored my mother. And everybody felt good. Everybody felt good, because that was, I think, the thing you always want to look for in people.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter what they're wearing. What matters is they have a happy expression on their face. Are they interesting? Do they have a light in the eye? Can you make contact with them? And that's what she looked for. And I've never seen that really written about her in all the things about her. I wanted to add, because often, I don't know how the rest of the world is, but I usually think of what I really wanted to say on the way home. And you think, why didn't I say that? But I think that what was important to Coco, and to, I think, the brightest people, all of us, but even someone like Coco, who's been so presented as this stiff, iconic, remote, angry woman, we're all looking for some humanity, for a connection. And when Mother was painting on site there, everyone said that there was laughter, their spirits were lifted. It wasn't because anybody was perfectly dressed or beautiful or anything. It was because there was a giving and taking and a sense of joy. We were laughing just now, and then you get a new energy.
Yes.
And I think that what Coco looked for in everybody, yes, she had to be very exacting in the dress, but what she looked for in the people around her were people who were human beings and who were giving. She was the most giving person that I've ever met. She would tell stories and laugh and mug and carry on. She loved to laugh. She was fun. She was fun. And I'll tell you something interesting about her starting out. When she first had a hat shop in Deauville when she was very young, Amy de la Haye, who's the curator of this exhibition and has done all the research, said people went to her hat shop not because necessarily she had the only or the perfect hat, but she was such fun. And they loved to go in there and they loved to be with her. And I think that that's true in all of life, that there are people who make you feel good.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, if you're ever down, if you ever feel sad, go out and try to talk to somebody and see if there's a laugh there. See if there's some common experience where you can smile and you can laugh and say, oh, that, well, we've all been through that.
Yes.
I add one thing. Both my mother and Coco had great sadness in their lives, great sadness. My mother's mother committed suicide in her young 40s, despite her beauty and her wealth. Coco's older sister, who was almost maternal, committed suicide in her young 40s. What they searched for throughout life was some feeling, ways to become uplifted. My mother would see a flower, would see a child's face, would see a landscape, and she'd say, I have to paint it. And she would come alive. And we're all looking for that thing of beauty, whether it's a smile, whether it's a laugh, that's uplifting. And the collaboration of Mother and Coco you can see and feel in many of the paintings because they all talked about it. When Mother was there, Coco was in a better mood and Mother was in a better mood. And isn't that what we're all looking for? How we can be together and make one another feel better. And that's what this whole story and this whole show is about. Not people getting divorced and fighting, and no, people getting along and people seeing the best in someone else. Coco Chanel made this ugly duckling feel fabulous.